Hey everyone, I'm Nick, and welcome to a new series called Learning Rust. So this is a new style of series where you get to see my own personal journey into learning a new programming language. So here I'll start out like most people do with, doing a basics of, hello world. So you're more than welcome to follow along, as I transition from, mainly writing C++ code and CUDA code into learning a new language like Rust. So we'll get started, like I said, with hello world. So we'll go to this hello world directory and we'll open up main.rs. So rs is the extension for a Rust source file. So there's a lot of similarities, it looks like, between Rust syntax and C, C++ syntax. So we have these double slashes to denote comments. Similar to C, C++, it looks like Rust also uses main to denote, say, the entry point to a program, so has a main function. So a little bit different than C, C++, we use this fin to denote, say, the function. So we have this function, main, doesn't take any parameters, and there's no return type. So a little bit different than C and C++, which uses, say, an int return type for main. And then we have our print, and our print looks kind of like a Python print. But this isn't a function call, this is actually a macro. Right, so the macro part is denoted by this exclamation point at the end. If we didn't have the exclamation point, it would be a function call. But in this case, this print line right here is a macro. So we'll use it to print out hello world. Like C, C++, we'll use a semicolon to denote, say, the end of an expression. We also don't need to worry about printing a new line character, so that will happen automatically as well for this print line macro. Alright, so that's the basics of writing, say, your first hello world program in Rust. But of course, how do you compile it and actually run it? So like C, C++, we have to compile it. And we'll use rust c for that. So we'll use rust c on main.rs, and then we'll generate an executable called main, which we can run just like another executable, just with this /main. And here we see our hello world string get printed out. So another thing that we can do, if we go ahead and change the name of main.rs to say hello world.rs, and then we call rust c on this hello world.rs, we see that it generates an executable with whatever the name of the source file is in this case. So we can go ahead and execute hello world, that executable, and it prints the same thing, of course. Now another thing that I found when going through kind of the basic examples of first learning Rust is get used to the package manager called cargo. So let's do a hello world using cargo. So I can do cargo new and then a directory, so say hello cargo, right? And this will go ahead and make a new directory for me, or a new project for me, right, called hello cargo. So I can go to that directory, hello cargo, and we see we've got a couple things here. So we have this cargo.toml file, and then we have this source directory. Now the source directory, if I do ls source, we see that it has this main.rs here. And if I go ahead and print out the contents of that file to the screen, we see that it just automatically generated a simple main function that prints hello world in it. Right, so just kind of a shell of a program to get you started. So then if we go ahead and go to this cargo.toml file, or TOML file, we see it has a syntax where it says whatever the package is, the name, the version, the authors, which is, hey, it's me, Nick from Coffee Before Arch, as well as something like the edition, and then also any dependencies we have. So for our hello world program, we don't have any dependencies, but I expect we'll be seeing that more and more in later videos. Now we can actually use cargo to do a lot of things for us. We can use it to build our application for us and run our application. So if I do something like cargo build, it will automatically build our project. So here you see it built it unoptimized plus debug info, so it basically automatically built it in debug mode. So if I do ls again, you see now I've got target in here. And if I do ls within target, you see it has debug. And then furthermore, it has our executable called hello cargo in this case. And if I run, /target debug, hello cargo, we see it just runs that executable, right? Just prints out hello world. But I can also run it through cargo, right? So I can do cargo run, and it will automatically run whatever the application is, and compile it if necessary. In this case, it took 0 seconds because it didn't need to recompile. But if I did something like cargo clean, so this is kind of like a make file, so we'll go ahead and get rid of that target directory. But if I do cargo run again, you see it goes through the step first of compiling cargo and then eventually running the executable. Now, if I wanted to run it and say, optimized or not in debug mode, I could also do cargo run dash dash release. So basically run it in release mode. So now you see that it says finish, release, and then optimize. So it doesn't say debug or debug info like it does up here, right? Or unoptimized plus debug info, right? And then it also runs the executable. And if we look at the target directory, so ls target, we see now we have two different things. We have debug mode and a release mode. So I can specify if I want to run the debug mode, the release mode, compile the debug mode, or compile the release mode. And if I just want to get rid of everything, I can of course do cargo clean. So kind of like make clean, it will just delete all of these temporary files for me. All right, so that's gonna be the basics of getting up and running with Rust. So we'll be using extensively the cargo package manager for a lot of these projects, just to really get to know it as I kind of explore this language for the first time. If you want to follow along with any of these things, you can find it at github.com/coffeebeforearch. So inside of repositories and then this learning Rust directory, feel free to check this out. So right now we've got our hello world example in here. So feel free to send me any questions, or if there's a specific example you think would be useful to learn early on, I'd be happy to look at that as well. But that's going to do it for today. As always, I'm Nick, and I hope you have a nice day.